Right now on the National Weather Desk, California on alert. An atmospheric river brings rain, snow, and wind. Water rescues are already. Right now on the National Weather Desk, California on alert. An atmospheric river brings rain, snow, and wind. Water rescues are already underway, and more bad weather is on the horizon.
Another round starts to swing in as early as next week.
Nature's thaw, warming temperatures raises the risk of ice jams.
Chunks are so big it just physically rips things right off of homes.
Celebrating success, Florida sea turtles are saved after being stunned by cold water.
They've got plenty of energy to get back out there and go back to doing what they do best.
Plus, why it's been so warm in Nevada, and weather lessons on hail and fog. Right now on the National Weather Desk, California on alert. An atmospheric river brings rain, snow, and wind. Water rescues are already underway, and more bad weather is on the horizon.
Another round starts to swing in as early as next week.
Nature's thaw, warming temperatures raises the risk of ice jams.
Chunks are so big it just physically rips things right off of homes.
Celebrating success, Florida's sea turtles are saved after being stunned by cold water.
They've got plenty of energy to get back out there and go back to doing what they do best.
Plus, why it's been so warm in Nevada, and weather lessons on hail and fog.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. The atmospheric river we've been watching all week is now bringing heavy rain, wind, and snow to California. First, we want you to give you a sense of just how big this atmospheric river really is. All the orange you see here is moisture. It stretches from Hawaii to the Pacific coast, more than 3,000 miles, hence the name, the Pineapple Express. Water rescues are already underway in many places. The Sonoma County Fire District posted these images overnight. They successfully rescued a person who was trapped in their vehicle as it was taking on water. All that rain across the state increases the risks not just for flooding, but also landslides, falling trees, and power outages. In the mountains, the precipitation is snow, and lots of it. Here in Mammoth Lakes, up to 2 feet of snow is expected with winds gusting 50 miles per hour. Snow this morning is falling at 1 to 2 inches per hour, making travel very dangerous. A winter storm warning is in effect through early Saturday morning. North of Sacramento, water was released from the Oroville Reservoir in anticipation of the heavy rain, while in Southern California, the weather alerts range from winter storm warnings to flood watches and high wind warnings. Lena Folk shows us how people in the Bakersfield area are getting ready for the bad weather.
Being prepared will undoubtedly save you from unimaginable grief.
California Governor's Office of Emergency Services virtually coordinated an overview of what to expect weather-wise for the next 10 days. This comes as Governor Newsom activated the State Operations Center in preparation for the projected storms.
Really is a broad width of California that's going to see threats over the coming week. The impacts extend from the north coast, almost near the Oregon border, all the way down to San Diego, towards our border with Mexico.
Flood alerts are in effect for parts of northern and southern California throughout Thursday night or early Friday, in which runoff may lead to the flooding of rivers, creeks, and streams. Localized flooding, landslides, and rock slides are possible in Southern California.
We are working with our partners and our crews across the state to quickly mobilize our fleet and personnel to be ready wherever and whenever they might be needed. This includes pre-positioning of equipment at critical locations in anticipation of flooding, slides, or snow operations.
Storm number 2 is expected to arrive in California by Sunday and last early into next week.
And for a look at how long this atmospheric river will stick around and what's coming up next week, we turn to meteorologist Brian Vandegraff.
Another day of some hefty rain. The focus shifting now down through Southern California, including Los Angeles, where a slight risk of excessive rain is a factor. But the good news is moving through Friday and Saturday, well, California gets a little bit of a reprieve. That Pineapple Express has been transporting that moisture right out from the Pacific and the Hawaii area all the way to Southern California through the day. One more day of hefty rains. But notice as we head into the weekend, a little bit of a reprieve, some drier air. But then another round starts to swing in as early as next week. In fact, after a dry weekend, that risk for heftier rains once again returns to California for not just Monday, but Tuesday as well. So they're going to continue to be on alert for the West Coast, at least through the middle of next week.
Well, Punxsutawney Phil will give us his unofficial forecast tomorrow, but on this February 1st, we want to see what the National Weather Service says the nation can expect this month. When it comes to temperatures, it appears the warmth of the past week will continue. The northern half of the country has the best chance at seeing above average temperatures, with the best chances in the Pacific Northwest. As for precipitation, the southeast and the southwest have the best chances to be above average, while the Great Lakes and the Midwest have the best chances of seeing a drier than average month. In Iowa, the warmer winter temperatures are causing the snowpack to melt at an increasing rate. And all that melted snow flows into local waterways, causing dangerous ice jams. Meteorologist Garrett Haid has more.
Currently, right now, river levels look to be fairly decent across here in eastern Iowa. But as we continue to see those warmer temperatures, more and more of that ice will begin to melt and break up a little bit more into these large chunks. And of course, those large chunks then begin to start to float downstream and start to pile up and build up along areas where it starts to constrict a little bit, like bridges and other areas where things constrict in the waterways, reducing the flow of water overall and potentially causing some flooding further upstream.
It can cause basically a temporary dam, if you will, in the river, and that can lead to backup and rises on water levels. And sometimes those water levels can rise very rapidly, several feet in an hour, for example. Besides flooding, another potential impact from ice jam is property damage. The ice jam chunks are so big, it just physically rips things right off of homes or causes damage to homes and things like that.
If you do happen to come across any ice jams or flooding, of course, you're encouraged to first make sure you're keeping your distance and stay safe. Then eventually report that to the National Weather Service, law enforcement, or to media partners like Iowa News Now. But in the meantime, be sure to stay safe around flooded areas, especially as our melting snowpack continues to put water everywhere. We'll be sure to keep you updated on river forecasts as we get a little bit closer towards the springtime as well.
Well, dozens of green sea turtles are back in the Gulf of Mexico after being cold stunned. Marissa Jure was there as a Marine Institute set the turtles free off of Florida's Panhandle earlier this week.
Sea turtles are now back in the Gulf waters in Cape San Blas.
What a beautiful day to go home.
Kendra Jacoby volunteers with St. Joseph's Bay Turtle Patrol. She says it's important for her that she's able to help.
It's just very amazing and exciting to see the sea turtles because they're pretty elusive.
Lauren Alberin with Gulf World Marine Institute says these turtles were brought in a week ago. All they needed was to be warmed up.
Cold stunned turtles in this area, for the most part, are really healthy. They just got a little too chilly. So this gave us enough time to warm them up slowly, tag them.
40 cold-stunned green sea turtles are being released into the Gulf. The waters are finally warmer so they can go back into their home. We are told it is important to make sure the water is not below 50 degrees for the turtles, or they could risk getting cold-stunned immediately.
When they're flapping and they're angry, we want that. It means they're very fueled up and ready to go. Again, these turtles, by and large, are healthy, chunky. You saw fat turtles that are just a little too cold. So we can warm them up. They've got plenty of energy to get back out there and go back to doing what they do best.
Alberin says they want the animals out there as quick as they are able to.
And these are protected and sometimes endangered species. So that's why we want to get as many of them back in as possible.
And hundreds of people experiencing the release.
Pretty dang exciting to be able to touch them. It's pretty amazing. It's not something you get to do every day.
Welcoming the sea turtles back into where they belong.
Winter often brings all sorts of precipitation, including rain, sleet, and snow. But in Florida, it could mean reptiles. Meteorologist Lauren Oleski explains.
So something interesting happens in South Florida in the wintertime. Doesn't happen all the time, but when it's cold enough, iguanas fall out of trees. Iguanas can become cold stunned when the temperature gets chilly enough. And since they sleep in trees and they essentially freeze, it allows them to then fall onto the ground. So sometimes it doesn't just rain in Florida, it rains iguanas. When the temperature gets down to below 55 degrees, maybe even closer to the upper 40s, nothing really happens to them. They start to maybe slow down closer to 45 degrees, but below that, they're likely going to become cold stunned, and then they will be unable to move when the temperature drops below 40. For the purpose of this exercise, the temperature Wednesday morning in Boston was 28 degrees. If it got that cold in South Florida, we'd likely be seeing iguanas lying all over the ground.
Did your app have that? I doubt it. Now, some not so great news for the moon. Scientists say the circumference has shrunk by 150 feet in the last million years. That doesn't sound like much and it won't affect the Earth, but it indicates the moon could be getting colder. That's causing the surface to shrink like a grape, shriveling into a raisin. It also contributes to moonquakes and landslides on the moon's surface. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, winters in Reno, Nevada are getting warmer and warmer. We'll hear from local officials about how they plan to cool things down in the city. And we'll show you different types of fog formation.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We've had a cloudy stretch in the Northeast over the last several days, and more clouds are expected today. Here we are around lunchtime. Notice a mainly cloudy sky. Now, skies will be brightest, I think, through parts of southern New England and perhaps up into northern parts of New Jersey. We should be in the 30s for highs. A late-day snow shower is possible in northern New England. A weak system moves through, and a storm develops to our east on Friday. Look for another mostly cloudy day. Skies will become brighter on Saturday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. As we head into your Thursday, a little bit of patchy fog possible, but we will be looking at a cold front to approach. We'll knock our temperatures back as we get into Friday and Saturday. On Friday, this front may produce a few light showers across, especially the coastal regions. Again, temperatures tomorrow, fairly mild. We're likely going to be anywhere from the 40s to 50s. And then as we move into Friday morning, still fairly chilly, but recovering a bit, still upper 40s.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. We have highs today in the low 60s for the most part across the board. Isolated upper 50s in the mountains. And then we creep into the low to mid 70s in the southern parts of Florida. We see clouds ahead of a front that will push through the area this weekend. Starting Thursday evening, pushing across the area early Friday morning. Most of Florida, Georgia, and Alabama will have those clouds. We can expect rain this weekend.
For Black History Month, we're highlighting African Americans who have made a difference in the world of weather. George Washington Carver may not have been a meteorologist, but his contributions to the science were essential. Emily Gracie shares his story.
George Washington Carver was an American agricultural scientist, perhaps best known for his work with peanuts. He was born into slavery in Missouri in the 1860s and became the first African American to earn a Bachelor of Science degree in 1894. He would later go on to get a master's degree and teach at Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University. It was there that he played a crucial role in weather observations. Carver's passion for agriculture fueled an interest in the weather and the impacts it would have on crops. He started taking daily weather observations in 1899 and sent monthly reports to the government. Take a look at this report from 1900, where he notes heavy thunder and sharp lightning the night of February 9th. He continued taking records for more than 30 years as part of a cooperative volunteer weather observer program, which is still in existence today. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie.
It has been an unusually warm and sunny start to the year in northern Nevada, but this is not a surprise to local officials. Sophie Lincoln looks into what's behind these unseasonably warm temperatures.
Reno, Nevada, the biggest little city, has another title: the fastest warming city in the U.S. That's according to the Desert Research Institute, or DRI, which also says that Las Vegas is number 2 for the highest warming rates.
We're also, as I like to say, on the pointy end of the stick when it comes to climate change, right? Water is scarce. Atmosphere is drying up.
That's why the DRI, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and Arizona State University have created a climate consortium to innovate alternative solutions to keep up with higher temperatures and drier climates.
We all know about problems with water scarcity, especially along the Colorado River. We are also blessed with considerable energy resources, mainly solar and geothermal. But to develop those have to be done in a way that's sustainable, both for the communities that will be around those, as well as for the ecosystems in those locations.
The consortium is already looking at ways to address this water scarcity.
Colleagues at UNLV, Utah, and ASU have been working on ways to extract moisture, to extract water from the atmosphere.
Meanwhile, in other parts of the country, the cold is still very much a problem. We have talked a lot about how to prepare your car for frigid winter temperatures, but as Andre McClung found out, windshields are quickly becoming one of the most expensive winter-related auto expenses.
With cold wintertime temperatures, Mike Felty with Felty Insurance says a big focus is on protecting your home.
Big thing on homes is water hoses being hooked to the outdoor bibs people forget about. It can cause water to freeze and bust inside. A lot of times those people don't even realize till after it's thawed and they're trying to run the water.
And another issue insurance agencies have been seeing don't involve your home, but rather your car, and the potential for cracked windshields.
Since November, we've replaced 22 windshields here, which is that's quite a few.
Bristol Auto Glass. Steve Gibson, the owner of Bristol Auto Glass, can attest.
We've seen an upscale of, repairs coming in and chips and cracks in the windshield. If you have a chip in your windshield, it's best to get it repaired as quick as possible.
Gibson says that's because when temperatures get super cold or hot, those small chips can expand, causing a major crack.
The number one thing to do is not go out and turn your heater on, your defroster on wide open. If you do have a small crack or something in there, your glass is cold and you turn on your defroster and it gets hot really fast, that'll have a problem and it'll make your glass split. And then you have to go into replacement.
His recommendation instead?
And start your car up for about 10 minutes and just let it run without your defroster on wide open. And then go back outside and then turn your defroster on about 50% and let it clear off the frost.
And Felty recommends making sure you're at least partially covered with your auto insurance provider.
10 years ago, you could replace any windshield just about in any vehicle for a couple $100. No such thing anymore. I mean, you could be $700, $800. We've seen some as high as $3,000 for a windshield.
Well, last week we looked at how snow, sleet, and freezing rain form. Since then, we've received questions about one more type of winter weather, hail. Here to help better understand how hail forms, let's turn to meteorologist Evan Chikvara.
So the first thing to note about the difference between hail formation and then sleet, freezing rain is just the general thunderstorm. You get sleet, freezing rain from a wintry setup. You'll have stratus clouds, low cumulus clouds. A hail core is going to form in a big cumulonimbus cloud. These clouds can reach 50, 60,000 feet up higher than jetliners fly. And as you get this air coming up into the cloud, the air rises, it cools, it condenses. Then you get these little super cooled water droplets. They start to bounce together. They get larger and larger as they cycle up and down within the updrafts of a thunderstorm. Eventually, they get to a certain size where it no longer can stay in the atmosphere. Imagine, if you will, a softball-sized piece of ice. It no longer can be sustained by updrafts, so it falls out of the cloud. As it falls, it typically melts, and once it gets to the ground, it's measured by its size. Now, you can have severe criteria, which is quarter size or larger. In the Central Plains, you have a dry slot in a lot of your atmospheric profiles. That allows for hail to stay up in a thunderstorm much longer, thus the size gets bigger. If you live in the Southeast, we don't typically get softball, baseball-size hail, except in a very, very particular situation where supercells can support updrafts that hold hail that size.
And now that we know the difference between hail and winter precipitation types, let's talk about different types of fog. Here's meteorologist Matt Gunn.
Fog has been a pesky part of the Heartland's weather over the past few days. It causes traffic headaches and just makes the day seem very gloomy. Once fog forms, it will linger until there is a change in the air mass or drier air moves into the region. Recently, the Heartland has seen what's called advection fog, as the warm air has moved in and came in contact with the snow on the ground that then cooled the air, but the warm, moist air caused the dew point to rise and the air to become saturated, thus creating fog. Another common type we see is precipitation fog. During this, there is a cold, dry air at the surface while rain is falling. The dew point rises and the moisture created, added to the air, creates fog. The kind of fog we will see more during warmer months is radiation fog. This happens generally after a night that had rain. Moisture from the ground saturates the air, but nothing allows for the moist air to escape, so it just sits there, and we end up with fog. Finally, throughout the winter, we may see freezing fog. This is fog that produces drizzle, and when those droplets come in contact with the surface, they freeze. This only happens when temperatures are less than 32 degrees or at 32 degrees. No matter the kind of fog we see, it's important to only use your low beams, make your car visible to others, decrease your speed, and do not use cruise control. I'm meteorologist Matt Gunn reporting.
And as we go to break, we take flight over the Grand Strand, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Good Thursday morning, everyone. Welcome to February. Pretty quiet weather for most of us. We do have some clouds across the plains today. Maybe a stray sprinkle near St. Louis later, but generally pretty dry for today and also for your Friday tomorrow. Take a look here. Got a little bit of rain trying to sneak its way into Kansas there. And by the time that we roll on into Saturday, that does pick up a little bit more for Kansas, Nebraska, and western South Dakota. But a lot of sunshine out across the Ohio Valley, which they haven't seen much of that lately.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. A little cool up in the North Texas, but for the most part, it feels pretty nice out there. We're going to be watching another system approach out here from the west. That's going to bring some big changes coming in here Friday night and going into Saturday. Otherwise, temperatures are going to warm back up again. Going to be another spring-like day across the region. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi, everybody. It is Thursday morning. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Happy first day of February. It feels like spring has already sprung in parts of the west. It's so very mild. It's damp as well. Still a chance for scattered showers today in Seattle and Portland, but some heavy rain moving into the Bay Area, translating into heavy snow over the Sierra Nevada. Meanwhile, back into the 50s, again, feeling like spring around Salt Lake City. Look at that heavy rain pushing into the Golden State throughout the day. And that's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Parts of Montana dealt with dense fog Wednesday. In Rhode Island, nature combines with human ingenuity for post-sunset reflections. And folks around Appomattox, Virginia were curious about these clouds that can look scary, although they do hang around strong thunderstorms and cumulonimbus clouds at times. Mammatus clouds are not responsible for severe weather.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
Now, when you think of allergies, spring and summer usually come to mind. But did you know that people also suffer from allergies during the winter? Theron Zahn explains.
During the wintertime, when the trees are bare and you don't see much in the way of fresh grasses, you might be wondering, why am I still getting allergies? Well, there are some substances out there in the world that can actually give you allergies even in the wintertime. Some of the most common ones are dust, mold, pet dander if you have an animal, especially if you live inside an apartment building, and dust mites, of course. And one thing you might not think about, living in a city maybe, cockroach droppings can also cause you to have an allergic reaction.
If you want to see more content like this, be sure to check us out on social media. Just search the National Weather Desk on your favorite platform. We'll be right back. And thank you for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Make it a great Thursday. Remember, tomorrow is Groundhog's Day again, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.